What is going on, everyone? Mets Talk with Hayden J here. What's going on, everyone? I hope we are all doing extremely well. We got quite a bit of stuff to talk into today's stream. Obviously, Game 3, 4, and 5 of this World Series matchup just came into effect in Atlanta. The Atlanta Braves took 2 out of 3 in their home field at Truist Park, so we are going to be talking about that today. In today's stream, we are going to be going over games 3, 4, and 5 of this World Series, and then we are going to be covering a preview on Game 6, and we don't really know what would go on if there's a Game 7, but we would definitely be there for that as always. So please, everyone, before we get started into today's stream, smash that like button. Turn on those post notifications. If you are not subscribed to the channel already, what are you doing? Hit that subscribe button. Tell your friends about this channel. And yeah, we are going to get into this series. There is a lot of good stuff to talk about. There's a lot of stuff going around Major League Baseball. So yeah, so let's just stop wasting any time and let's take a little look-see into it. So let's get into this summary. So as we know, this was a 3-game series in Atlanta. A lot happened. The Atlanta Braves took 2 out of 3 in this series. Good series. Lot to talk about, so let's get into it. Game 3, which was Friday, we saw the Atlanta Braves took this game 2-1. Kind of a boring game, not gonna lie. I mean, listen, I hate to be negative in the World Series and call it boring, but there wasn't the most. It wasn't the most It wasn't the most intriguing game. So yeah, it wasn't the most exciting game, but the Braves won this game 2-1. We had Ian Anderson on the bump on Friday's game. Ian Anderson pitched a gem. 5 innings pitched, 0 hits. That is right, 0 hits in the World Series. 0 runs, of course. 3 walks and 4 strikeouts. Now, you may be saying to yourself, 5 innings pitched, 0 hits. Why was he taken out? Well, it's tough. You're in the World Series. Snitker, he had his agenda for what he wanted to go. He pitched amazing, like we said. He had a pitch count of 70 pitches. He did throw as many balls as he did for strikes, so I think that was the big reason that Snitker wanted to pull him. It would be awesome to see a no-hitter in the World Series, but I think, you're trying to win. And I see the point. He was getting tired. 70 pitches in only 5 innings. I see the point. That definitely would have been pretty hard to do. So it sucks, but hey, it happens. It's baseball. His four-seamer was pretty on point. I liked his four-seamer. It was working for him there. The movement, the drop, no complaints there. His changeup was pretty untouchable. And like we said, there was pretty much little to no contact against Ian Anderson pretty much because there was no hits. Yeah, overall solid, no complaints. The bullpen was called in going into the 6th inning. Minter, Jackson, they were clean. Going into the 7th inning, Matzik was thrown in, and unfortunately, Diaz was at the dish and hit a BABIP single to left field, and the catch could have not been made. It wasn't an error. It was a hit, and that, unfortunately, erased the possibility of a combined no-hitter. It's unfortunate to see, but it's baseball. That's how it rolls. Following that, Will Smith came in to close it out. He gave up a hit, so I guess even if there was, still would have been upset. I think it would have been better to get the hit out of the way in the 7th rather than the 9th. So Braves really had their stuff. Braves pitching staff, their bullpen was able to lock it down. Only 2 hits this whole entire game. 2 hits and 9 innings. That's pretty good against the hot Astros lineup. In terms of the offense, it was pretty quiet, but like we said, the Braves pitching really helped it. In the 3rd inning, Austin Riley had an RBI double to bring in 1, and then in the 8th inning, former New York Met Travis d'Arnaud had a solo home run to center field. He yanked it 437 feet dead center. So good to see. Ian Anderson is eligible for the W, and of course, Will Smith is eligible for the save. So that was the Braves side. Getting into the Houston Astros side. Astros, it wasn't the best day for them. We had Luis Garcia on the bump for the Houston Astros. 3.2 innings pitched, surrendering 3 hits, a run, 4 walks, and 6 strikeouts. Not the best day. He was taken out. We've really been seeing earlier on, he's been struggling in the division series. He had one good gem but he has been struggling so far early out. The Astros, or in this case, the Braves and the Red Sox, when they were playing against the Astros, they were really able to get to Garcia early on, whether that was loading the bases and then just smashing, some barrels against him. He was really having his fair share of struggles. So yeah, kind of sucks to see. We saw the velocity on his four-seam was kind of, dipping down throughout the game. His curve, down on the plate, a little bit of trouble. He was okay for the most part, kind of did struggle though, not a good start. Following that, 5 bullpen arms were used following this. The bullpen was pretty solid, I guess, going 7 innings, 3 hits, a run, a walk, and 4 strikeouts. Not too bad, not too shabby. And then pretty much in terms of their offense, they scored no runs, and they only allowed 2 hits. 2 of those hits, first was a BABIP single from Diaz, kind of lucky, I guess, and then Alex Bregman in the 9th had a single down the line. So that was game 1. The Atlanta Braves pick up Friday's game 2-0. Getting into game 4. Game 4, which was Saturday, we saw the Atlanta Braves won this game 3-2. We had Dylan Lee start for the Atlanta Braves, a rookie. One of the first times this is the first time a rookie pitcher has pitched in the World Series. The second player to make his debut in the World Series. So Dylan Lee was the first person to make his pitching debut in the World Series. The first batter to make his debut in the World Series. You may remember this, 2015, my New York Mets went against the Kansas City Royals, and that guy was a pitch hitter for the Kansas City Royals named Raul Mondesi. He did strike out. I believe it was Syndergaard or someone struck him out. But yeah, good to see Dylan Lee not get into the baseball history, but into the World Series edition. So good to see. Yeah, only 0.1 innings pitched, 1 hit, a run, 2 walks, 1 strikeout. I guess he was really just to go for the first inning. Good for him, I guess. Following that, Wright came in, 4.2 innings pitched, surrendered 5 hits, a run, 3 walks, and 3 strikeouts. He was pretty much supposed to just clean up the work from the bulk start. Following that, 4 bullpen arms were used as stated. You kind of had to cover up this game a little bit, so it makes sense. And then obviously in terms of their offense, pretty quiet kind of for the most part, but it was able to get the job done. In the 6th inning, Austin Riley had an RBI single. And then following that, in the 7th inning, Dansby Swanson and Jorge Soler went back-to-back with home runs. So we could really see, the Braves' offense was pretty quiet earlier on in the game, and then it really seemed to open up towards the end of the game. So that was good to see. That's what you like to see. Any good offensive team do that. Really good to see out of that. No complaints there. And then on the Houston Astros end, we had Zach Greinke on the bump for the Houston Astros. They had a pretty solid start from Zach Greinke. Zach Greinke went 4.2 innings pitched, surrendering 4 hits, 0 runs, 0 walks, and only 3 strikeouts. Good to see out of Zach Greinke. His fastball and slider had the nice combination. That's why I'm saying it wouldn't be the worst thing. I mean, Zach Greinke's getting older now. I don't know how old Zach Greinke is, but he's getting in, his late 30s. So if he wants to be a reliever, he has the nice fastball slider combination to do it. So, we'll see. I think he's a free agent this offseason. He's not what he used to be, but if a team wants to pick him up and use him as a reliever, I wouldn't have an issue with that. Like we said, the fastball slider combination was very effective. He got a lot of double plays in his to help him out. And he even provided some offense. He had 2 base hits. So, Zach Greinke wanted to get on the action. He's a guy who used to play in the NL, and he used to be a good hitter. And, of course, the Astros, they don't hit. Their pitchers don't hit, So good to see him step up. And then following that, 5 bullpen arms were used. Bullpen was pretty quiet until Christian Javier came in. Gave up 2 runs, 2 hanging pitches for home runs. Kind of sucks to see, but it happens. And following their offense, it was pretty quiet. Carlos Correa had an RBI ground out in the 1st inning, and then in the 4th inning, Jose Altuve had a solo home run. I believe that was his 24th of his postseason career. So that is definitely up there. I think he is tied for second baseman of all time. So Braves pick it up. So far, they are 2-0. getting into an elimination game, Sunday's game, an elimination game. Can they get something? Game 5, Sunday, the Astros won this game 9-5. It was a very close game. We had Davidson on the bump for the Atlanta Braves. 2 innings pitched, 2 hits, 2 runs, 3 walks, and a strikeout. Pretty solid, really no complaints. I gave up 2 runs earlier on. Some contact up the middle. But following that, Snitker used the 4 bullpen arms. Really no complaints there. Kind of exploded towards the end. But in terms of their offense, it was pretty quiet. In the first inning, Adam Duvall had a grand slam, and you would have thought bases loaded, 2 outs. Can you get out of this inning? No. He had a grand slam to right field. And a lot of people said, hey, listen, you're 4-0. First inning, I think we got this. No, that was not the case. They came back. And then in the 4th inning, when it is a tie game, Freddie Freeman hits a solo home run. Unfortunately, it didn't mean a whole lot. Would have been great to see if the game would have stayed that way. Freddie Freeman be responsible for his team winning the World Series, but could still be the case. We have 2 more games to decide, or potentially 1. So that is the Braves. In terms of the Houston Astros, you had Framber Valdez on the bump for the Astros. 2.2 innings pitched, surrendering 4 hits, 5 runs, 2 walks, and a strikeout. Good to see out of Valdez. He didn't have the best start. Better than what I thought to an extent. Following that, Dusty Baker put 5 bullpen arms in following that, who were lights out. And in terms of their offense really did seem to blow up. Really good to see their offense blow up. In the 2nd inning, Alex Bregman had an RBI double. Following that, Martin Maldonado had a sac fly, 2-0. Going into the 3rd inning, Carlos Correa had an RBI double. Following that, Yuli Gurriel had an RBI ground out, so 4-0 or 4-4. Going into the 5th inning, with bases loaded, Martin Maldonado kind of comes into clutch with a walk. I guess good eye command of the zone there. And then following that, Gonzalez had an RBI single to break open this game. And then in the 7th inning, Maldonado had another RBI single. And then in the 8th inning, Carlos Correa had an RBI single. So, yeah, honestly, the Astros offense was really quiet, and it really seemed to step up when it mattered the most. This was a game where they were not batting very well. They weren't hitting with runners in scoring position. They were hitting for a low average, low on base percentage. They weren't really, I guess, having good at-bats for the most part. But in this game, 9 runs, 12 hits, stolen base, 6 walks, and 15 people on base overall. That's a pretty good pretty good in my opinion. That's something you would really like to see. So yeah, Astros avoid losing the World Series. We will see. Can they continue it? Obviously, Truist Park, it was very electric. The crowd was really cheering. It was busy. I saw, all the videos of people outside the stadium, cheering over the Grand Slam. Unfortunately, it didn't seem to help them out so much. As we know, they will not get the potential win at home. They could possibly still win the World Series, no doubt about that. It's just if they win the World Series, it will not be at home. So, typically if you're a World Series team or if you're playing in the World Series and you're going to win, you would like your team to win it at World Series, at their own stadium, I mean. So, yeah. So we're going to see, can the Astros come back? As we know, this was a 3-1 situation. I'm sure we all know about 3-1. And I asked this, and if anyone knows this, please feel free to let me know. Has any team, because we know last year in 2020, in that season, in the NLCS, it was the Atlanta Braves and the Los Angeles Dodgers. And the Atlanta Braves were up against the Dodgers 3-1, and we all know what happened. The Atlanta Braves choked, and the Dodgers took over. So my question is, if the Atlanta Braves are to choke again, has there ever been a time where a postseason team has choked back-to-back 3-1 leads? I wasn't really sure about that. So if any of you guys do know that, please feel free to let me know in the comment section below. But let's stop wasting any more time, and let's get into the preview of Game 6. There is a lot to go over in Game 6, but we're going to keep it pretty minimal for the most part. So Game 6 is tomorrow, Tuesday. As we know, Today is an off day. The teams will be traveling back to Houston. The Astros are looking to try and take 2 from the Atlanta Braves. The Atlanta Braves would only need one more win, where the Houston Astros, if you're an Astros fan, or in terms of the Astros case, you would like to try and win the next 2 to get this series. It is desperate. The Astros, every single move they make, every single pitch, every single swing, every single jump, every single move that Dusty Baker makes will determine the rest of their season. We know Dusty Baker, he switched up the lineup. A lot of his guys weren't hitting, like Alvarez and Bregman, and what did he do? He shoved them down. And I guess you could say last night it worked for them. So we are going to see, can it work for them again? What would their lineup be? We will be going over the lineup a little bit because I did come up with a lineup. And if you guys have any lineups in the comments section below, please feel free to drop them below. I believe someone did already, so we'll read over that. But yeah, Game 6, Tuesday, tomorrow at 8:09 p.m. Max Fried will be on the bump for the Atlanta Braves. Solid season for the most part in the regular season. He has his fair share injury issues, which was something. But so far on this season, we could see he is 0-1 with a 10.80 ERA, a 1.60 WHIP, and only 5 innings pitched in the playoffs so far this postseason. So yeah, as we know, he's a left-handed pitcher, so that will definitely not really much have an effect on the Braves or the Astros lineup, I guess. We know that Max Fried is a guy who doesn't really a lot of the contact and results don't really have much launch angle. It's more, ground ball guys, kind of a ground ball merchant for the most part. But he limits the launch angle, like I stated, limits walks, and I guess average velocity and spin on his pitches. So good to see. So Max Fried is really going to have to really do something. And then I guess in terms of the Houston Astros, we will have Luis Garcia for the Astros. Win-loss record 0-1, 2.45 ERA, a 1.91 WHIP, and 3.2 innings pitched. We know he has a nice seamer, a fair cutter, and a nice spin on his four-seam fastball. So we're going to see. I mean, a lot of this will come down to, I think it could definitely go to a Game 6 or a Game 7, I mean. A Game 7 is very possible. Especially, like you said, the Astros, they have the home field advantage. That typically sometimes tends to work for teams. You have the crowd. You're in your home stadium. Everyone's cheering for you. So, yeah, overall, we're just going to have to see how that works for the Astros case. Pretty much, one more game for the Braves and 2 more for the Astros. I would love this to go to a Game 7. That would be pretty awesome. We don't really... Trying to think, last year we didn't have a Game 7. When was the last time we had Game 7? 2016 we had 7. 2017 we had 7. 2018 we didn't. 2019 we did. So 2019 was the last time we had Game 7. So that'd be pretty cool, I guess. So yeah, we will see how that goes. In terms of the Atlanta Braves lineup, I guess we could briefly touch on it because the Braves, if their offense is going to need to spark something, we know their pitching. In terms of the pitching, I mean, both teams have had great pitching, pretty adequate pitching performances. Both teams' bullpens have really been no issue. I mean, Minter maybe had one bad start where he blew it, but otherwise they've been pitching fine, really no complaints. Just that one bad start that Minter was thrown in by Snitker, and, he kind of blew the lead for them. But otherwise, there were really no issues with that. So looking at a possible Braves lineup in Game 6, let's take a little look-see. Let's pull it up. So Game 6, let's see. So the lineup that it is giving me, and it says what the Braves starting lineup may be. So pretty much as we know, the Astros will have a right-handed pitcher on the mound in Garcia. So pretty much that'll mean Eddie Rosario will be coming back to the lineup, most certainly. Will Rosario lead off? That is probably going to be the case. We know that Jorge Soler has been a guy who came back. He was in that leadoff spot. And then pretty much we're just going to have to see, can he hit in the DH spot? So we'll see. It's going to be something. We know the DH is here. We know it's a pain in the behind with the DH, and that's why I'm a big DH proponent for the National League, because it just helps with the roster construction. That way you don't have to reconstruct your whole roster, and, it really is a pain. So it'll be something. We know Jock Peterson will most likely be playing right field. So my possible most lineup in the scenario would be you have Eddie Rosario batting first. We know he's a right-hander, and obviously there will be a right-hander on the bump in Garcia. Snitker is pretty big on the righty-on-righty matchup, so he is going to be throwing in guys like Rosario and Soler, so we're going to see how that goes. So most likely I could see something going on. You have Eddie Rosario lead off. You throw him in left field. You have Freddie Freeman, I guess, bat second. Obviously, nowadays in MLB, you have your RBI kind of drive him in guy bat second. I easily think Freddie Freeman with one swing of the bat could put a huge hole in the game. So Freddie Freeman batting second, obviously playing first base. Batting third is really the question. It's questionable if it's going to be a guy like Soler, Albies, or Riley, but I really would like to see Riley bat in the first inning. So even if you do put Riley fourth, it's not guaranteed he's going to get his at bat. So I would honestly have Austin Riley bat third. Obviously, he plays third base. Batting fourth, I would have Jorge Soler, the DH. Batting fifth, I would obviously have Ozzie Albies at second. Ozzie Albies has been having a somewhat struggle World Series, but he will be batting fifth. Batting sixth, I would have Adam Duvall. Batting seventh, I would have Jock Peterson. Oh, and of course, Adam Duvall is playing center field. Batting seventh, I will have Jock Peterson being thrown in right field. Batting eighth, I would have Travis d'Arnaud, the catcher. And of course, batting ninth, which isn't really much of a surprise, Dansby Swanson, the shortstop. So we're going to see how that lineup goes for them. And in terms of the Astros, they're going to have a lineup to construct too. It's questionable. Yordan Alvarez is not hitting. So obviously, there's really no question if you would take out Brantley for him. Brantley has been hitting so far this postseason. Yordan Alvarez has less hits. This is something that it was pretty funny. Zach Greinke has 2 hits this postseason. A pitcher. That is more than Yordan Alvarez. I mean 2 hits in the World Series. My apologies. Yeah. So Yordan Alvarez has no hits this World Series, where Zach Greinke has 2. So kind of funny to see. So yeah, it's questionable. What do you do with Yordan Alvarez? Do you just DH him? You obviously don't throw him in left field because you're not taking Brantley's bat out of the lineup with someone who's not hitting. So whether, and then are you going to start someone on your bench? Obviously, Chas McCormick will probably be in center field. Obviously, you have Maldonado's glove out there. Great framer. He's been reading the ball very well with his pitchers. So yeah, obviously a lineup I could see. Let's pull up my lineup. My lineup will be batting first, Jose Altuve, the second baseman. Batting second, Michael Brantley, the left fielder. Batting third, Alex Bregman, the third baseman. You moved him down one. I think that's fair. Seems to be working. Batting fifth, the shortstop, Carlos Correa. Or batting fourth, the shortstop, Carlos Correa. My apologies. Batting fifth, the DH, Yordan Alvarez. I know usually you keep your DH second, third, fourth, but Alvarez isn't hitting, so you got to drop him down. Batting sixth, the right fielder, Kyle Tucker. Batting seventh, Yuli Gurriel at first base. Batting eighth, Chas McCormick, the center fielder. And most likely it'll be Martin Maldonado over Jason Castro. So obviously I will have Martin Maldonado batting ninth at the catcher position. So we're going to have to see how that goes. As we know, we did go over the pitchers. Max Fried will be on the bump for the Atlanta Braves. And, of course, Luis Garcia will be on the bump for the Houston Astros. We know that Garcia has been a guy who only have 3 days rest. So that's going to be something. We know that that's a big thing, rest in the postseason. That is a big thing. So now that is it with the World Series summary for games 3, 4, and 5, and of course the preview for 6 and possibly 7. So of course, if you guys have any comments, questions, or concerns, please feel free to drop them in below. Do not hesitate. I will be going over all your guys' comments, questions, and concerns that you guys have. If you want to keep it World Series related, that's fine. I know there's a ton of comments already. If you want to keep it for about the offseason, the Mets, Phillies, Diamondbacks, please feel free to drop them below. I am always interested to hear what you guys have to say. But before we get into that, as always, if you are not already, smash that like button, turn on those post notifications, and of course, tell your friends about this channel. So yeah, so let's get into your guys' comments, questions, and concerns. So I appreciate everyone for tuning in as always. But what's going on, Gio? Appreciate you tuning in. Gio says the Astros have a shot. Yeah, the Astros most certainly do. Another 3-1 situation would not be very good if you are an Atlanta Braves fan. So yeah, Astros do definitely have a shot. They're back at home. They have a strong shot on making something working for them. So yeah, we'll see. The Astros are going to need to put out one of their best lineups every single day. Every single move they make will determine the rest of the season. DJ Moore, what's going on? No worries, man. Quentin, what's going on? Yeah, a little bit of an early stream. I started this 2:30 Eastern Standard. Had some errands to do later, but I wanted to come on here and talk with you guys and give my thoughts and all that stuff. So yeah. Christopher, what's going on? Colby, what's going on? YouTube Productions, what's going on, bud? Baseball is Mayor, what's going on? Gio, what's going on? Mothman, Evolve, what's going on? Karen, what's going on? Gio says, I don't know who will win the series, but I think the Astros are a better team and fundamentally better. Always moving runners when they have a chance. Yeah, something the Mets really needed to do a lot this season. I agree with you 100%, Gio. That is very true. Regardless whether it's a sac fly, they'll advance over that. They score runs. And honestly, I understand the thing is pitching wins championships, but I think also scoring runs wins championships because we've pretty much seen this series. It's really been a pitching duel for the most part. I mean, 2-0, 3-2, 2-1. It's really been a pitching duel for most of this postseason. The NLDS, Dodgers and Giants, pitching duel. The Braves and Brewers, NLDS, pitching duel. I mean, maybe the Rays, ALDS, and the Red Sox, maybe that was more of an offensive duel. But we really see a lot of it's pitching duels. So, if each of these teams scored, 5 or more runs, then I think it would, one, be much more exciting, but really change what could happen. But yeah, I agree with you, Gio. Mothman has the Astros taking it. All right. Christopher has the Astros. He's glad the Astros won. Yeah, that makes sense. Quentin says, I think the Astros sped up. I think the Astros were taking some solid pitches and seeing these pitchers better than the last 4 days. These guys don't adapt, so I wouldn't be surprised if they get blasted. Yeah, that makes sense. Obviously, it's the World Series. You're not used to facing a lot of these guys, so that most certainly makes sense. And yeah, obviously, they're facing each other again. Luis Garcia will be making his second start of the World Series. Jose Urquidy will be making his second start of the World Series, or already did. So yeah, that makes sense. Obviously, right, I get what you're saying. Once you see them again, then you get used to them. You know how they roll, what their pitches are like, the relationship. That makes sense. That really does make sense. Kobe, what's going on? Stoney, what's going on? Good to see you here. He says, hi, Hayden. Happy to see you. Of course, man. What's up, bro? Any news on GM or news on the Mets manager yet? Yeah, so as of right now, the Mets, there hasn't really been much talk. There's been some talk with the hitting coach. What was his name from the Red Sox? There was one guy from the Boston Red Sox who has been potentially been in talks, and that is Tim Hires. He is the hitting coach for the Red Sox, and he has declined his offer, and he will not be returning in 2022 for the Red Sox. We know that he is 51 years old. He is a guy who relies on analytics, so that's what you like to see, something that the last administration claimed to have, but really didn't seem to use it. And I'm talking like batting average analytics. So, yeah, that really goes to show something. So, yeah, we're going to have to see what goes on with that. Otherwise, Mets news, it's been pretty quiet. We know guys like Jose Peraza and some of the other bench mob guys decline their option. They will accept the free agent route. So guys like Jose Peraza, Jose Martinez. So yeah, it kind of sucks to see Jose Peraza leave. He's been clutch for us this postseason. He's been the king of the bench mob, stepped up. You would like to see maybe the Mets could throw a minor league contract at Jose Peraza. That would be good in my opinion. You don't want to lose him. He could be a nice 4th, 5th bat on the bench. In terms of the GM role, it's been quiet. As of right now, the Mets stated that they're going to take a break at the president of operations, and they're going to look more at the general manager role. So we're going to see how that goes. And, of course, you have to look at the manager role. I understand a lot of people are rushing to get this over with. I think you have to make time, though. But the issue I could see happening is, listen, and people saying, oh, well, we have Sandy Alderson. Sandy Alderson right now is the president of baseball operations, and I guess the GM, because Zach Scott is done. So right now you have Sandy being in charge of pretty much all the Mets moves, from the executive and the day-to-day operations for the most part. And I guess even the manager role, but there's no game, so who cares? So people are saying, oh, well, we have Sandy Alderson, so who cares? Well, yes, Sandy Alderson can technically make moves once the World Series is over. I think it's like a week after the World Series, you could start making moves with free agency. Yes, that is true. But my concern with that is that if Sandy Alderson makes a move, whether it's a minor league move, a pitching move, or a roster move, whether it's big or small, I question if the new person that comes into that position is going to like the moves that Sandy makes. It's like, taking someone over. It's like taking someone's job over after they made some moves. Well, what if you don't like those moves? You'd have to suck it up and you have to deal with it. So that is my big concern with people saying, oh, well, we have Sandy. He could make moves. He can, but I question, will the new guy like the moves he makes? Will the new guy, or it's a girl, I don't know, will they like the moves they make? I don't know. That is my big concern. So yeah, manager role is still undecided. We know there's been guys like Buck Showalter who have been named. Carlos Beltran, I guess, but there's really been no big manager new names since I've really been talking about it. Yeah, I mean, GM is the big guy, I guess, because I think the GM is going to come first, or the president of operations, because then they pick the manager, and they're going to want a guy that they know. Josh Burns was my number one pick. The Mets stated that they'll speak to Josh Burns once the Dodgers are out of the series or once their season's over. Dodgers season's over. Why have no calls been to Los Angeles to talk over Josh Burns? We know that Gomes isn't coming. He declined it. But Josh Burns could still come. Why haven't there been talks? That's what I don't get. We know fan favorite, SNY fan favorite, Andy Martino did state that more so he was alluding that the Mets should have not fired Rojas yet. But you got it, because what is the new president of baseball operations and the GM going to think of that position? So otherwise, for the most part, Sony, there hasn't really been much news. In terms of the players, I mean, Francisco Lindor is a finalist for a Gold Glove. A lot of the players went out for Halloween yesterday. Yeah, otherwise, I mean, player-wise, it's been quiet. Front office-wise, it's been a lot of talk, but no moves. A lot of guys have been denied to speak to, or spoke to some guys, and nothing really went far. But I mean, I'm hoping in the next 2-3 weeks we actually get a definitive answer on at least 2 guys, 3 guys. I mean, this is really getting ridiculous. But yeah, hopefully we can figure this out soon. Cristiano, what's going on? Good to see you here, man. Appreciate you tuning in. Zach, not cool YouTube. I am. I'm wearing a Mets hat. It's a miracle, right? It is. What's going on, man? Appreciate you tuning in. Christopher says, I can only wear a Mets hat. Born to be a loyal fan. Yeah, that makes sense. Trust me, when I go out in public, I'm wearing like a Rangers hat or like a Reds hat or an Angels hat, and everyone's like, so like, what fan base do you support? And I'm like, oh, I'm a Mets fan. So yeah, it definitely makes sense. But yeah, no, I feel that. Some people like it. For the most part, I usually wear my Mets stuff. Well, I take that back. I usually like to prefer my Mets stuff, but I like all of it. MLB. I'm a baseball fan, but the Mets come first. Zach Not Cool YouTube says Mondesi with one of the most underrated rings ever. I know. Alberto. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that is true. That is true. It's funny. I remember, I think it was, he struck out, I know. I want to say it was by Syndergaard. I think it was game 3. And yeah, it was funny. Howie Rose was the radio announcer for the Mets, and he was like, Alberto, or Raul Mondesi, making his debut in the World Series, and then he struck out, and then he's like, well, there you go, kid. You're not only in the baseball encyclopedia, but you're in the World Series edition. So that must be pretty nerve-wracking, making your debut, but then making your debut in the World Series. I think he just had that one pitch hit. I don't think he ever did anything else. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of funny to get a ring for not really doing much. But hey, it works. So baseball's mayor has a lineup. So he says Soler, Freeman, Rosario, Riley, Peterson, Darno, Swanson, and Albies. So you have Albies batting last. Wow. And then he says seems balanced righty, lefty, righty, lefty. I see the point with that. Although I wouldn't bet Albies last. Swanson's last. So maybe if you did Albies Swanson, I understand you doing a righty lefty, and obviously they would be going against a right-handed pitcher. So Snitker is going to want to do that. We all know how I feel about that. Soler, Freeman. I like Freeman batting second. Like I said, I personally, I mean, it's a solid lineup. Personally, I like Riley batting in the first inning. I mean, I agree with Darno, Duvall, Peterson. I guess that's fair. That's not a bad lineup. I like that. Kobe says, it seems Dusty Baker's line of work yesterday. Oh, you're saying that the lineup worked yesterday. Correa, Martin Maldonado, I guess that's what that means. And Bregman woke up. Now Francisco Alvarez. Yeah, I know what you're trying to say. Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yordan Alvarez, I think, is what you meant to say. Yeah, no, that's funny. Yeah, Yordan Alvarez definitely does need to wake up. He has been very quiet this World Series. Yeah, so hopefully he could wake up. But I agree with you. Like I said, lineup wasn't hitting. He changed. He shifted two guys around, and it worked. Zach Greinke has to be at least 33, 34, 35. Yeah, let's see. How old is Zach Greinke? I know he's in his mid-30s, maybe. Oh, more than that. He's 38. He just turned 38. Okay, so yeah, I mean, definitely a bullpen option wouldn't be the worst thing for him, in my opinion, especially when you get older. I mean, that's the question. Justin Verlander's a free agent. Where will he go? We'll see. Zach Not Cool YouTube says, I completely forgot he used to be Raul Mondesi. Yeah, that used to be his name. At first, I thought they were – one of my friends thought they were two different people, and I was like, no, they look exactly the same. And then I realized the name. Kobe says LFGM, indeed. Mr. Cool has Astros in 7. All right. Randolph has Astros winning the World Series, I guess, in 7. The offense is fixing to go off their due. That is true. All right. Randolph is calling it. Trey, what's going on? Trey says 3-1, LOL. What's going on? Trey says, if Garcia can go 5 innings, I think the Astros will get it done. But if the Braves strike big on Garcia, they're going to win it. Yeah, I think that makes sense. We'll see how the game starts off. If the game starts off, I mean, like I said, you had a grand slam to start off the game. They came back. The Astros are easily capable of scoring runs, and this was, I think, one of the first times in the World Series, and this was the first time in an elimination game in the World Series that a team that had a 4-0 deficit in the second inning came back. So, I mean, they're making some history. I mean, this is like more so minor history with baseball, but it's some cool history to think about. Yeah, I agree. Garcia has been getting lit up a lot earlier on, a lot early in his start. So Garcia is really going to have to at least get through. I mean, at least get through 5, maybe 4 innings if you're lucky. Baseball's Mayor says the Astros have a shot at winning the series next 2 games back at Minute Maid Park with home field advantage. That's true, man. That is true. Home field advantage is always good to see. Yeah, we'll see how that goes. Christopher says, I'd rather the Astros win the World Series. I just can't see myself supporting the Braves. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. We will see. We will see. Trey says, Dansby Swanson has the best hair. Change my mind. Well, in baseball, Jacob DeGrom, DeGrom doesn't have the best hair because he cut it. Noah Syndergaard has the best hair. Or Glasnow. Syndergaard or Glasnow. Quentin says, I felt like Riley and Freddie Freeman needed to be on 3rd and 1st, respectively. They have a great chemistry in that regard. They do. I feel those 2 guys really work together, whether it's back-to-back in the lineup or at 3rd base and 1st base. Of course, Joe, I speak as facts. No, Zach agrees with Trey's Dansby Swanson take. All right. Screw the Braves. Tired of hearing Mets fan praising them. Yeah, we'll see. Personally, a lot of people were saying, Hayden, who are you going to root for? Are you going to root for the Astros because you're a Mets fan? NL East rival. Listen, in 2019, I wanted the Astros to win the World Series. Call me crazy. I wanted to see Scherzer get a ring. I wanted to see Soto get a ring. That Nationals 2019 team just had so much to it. You had Soto, a young guy really developing, who, for being 23 years old, has done more than what half of baseball players have done in their career. I mean, Cy Young, future Hall of Famer Max Scherzer, Strasburg, first-round pick Strasburg, veteran Ryan Zimmerman. I want to see those guys get a ring. I mean, the Astros, they weren't going anywhere. Nationals, they were. They got lucky. They had the wild card. And, I mean, it's kind of good they won it because they're not going to be able to win the World Series again with that squad, unfortunately. So it's good they had their time. But, yeah, Christopher agrees. No, yeah, it makes sense. Mothman says Astros are winning it all. Yeah, we'll see. The Astros most certainly can. Braves are not our friends. For the most part. LFGM says, Michael, what's going on, Michael? Good to have you here. Kobe, you summed it up. Braves have a history of 3-1. Yeah, but if anyone knows, if anyone wants to do a little research and get back to me on Twitter or something, has any team in postseason history lost back-to-back season series when they were leading 3-1 and lost? I wonder. I don't think it's ever happened before. Imagine. I would tell my friends about the channel. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, trust me. A lot of baseball, in my opinion, is a dying sport. Sadly, a lot of kids I see, they don't even care. I mean, I'm in Florida. Baseball's pretty popular down here, but a lot of like the younger kids, I feel more care for other sports. Karen, what's going on? Appreciate you tuning in. Great stream. Appreciate it. Stony, appreciate it. Kobe says Astros feel some momentum back at home epic games ahead. Yeah, most certainly, dude. Yeah, I agree. Jose Peraza is a guy I like. He's young. You could really throw him anywhere. He's more of a utility guy. So that's great. I love the Mets to have as many utility guys as they can. They're going to have Jeff McNeil as a utility guy also. However, McNeil's going to be a starter most certainly. Where Peraza, he's going to be a bench bat. Peraza's great. You could throw him at second base if Baez or McNeil need a day off. You could throw him at third if there's an injury. You could throw him really anywhere. I mean, you could throw him at second. You could throw him at short. You could throw him at third. He has the speed in center field. Maybe he could play one of the corner outfield positions. You could throw him anywhere. Offensively, he's fine. He has some nice speed. Peraza's a guy I hope that we could bring him back on a minor league deal and call him up. Yes, you're damn. If you are, damn if you don't. With Alderson making the moves with the new GM. Exactly. Gio, of course. I heard we're supposed to talk contract to VR. Whatever happened to that? Yeah, this is my thing with VR. I would like to sign VR again, but Jonathan VR, if you think about it, how old is Jonathan VR? Jonathan VR is going to want to play every day. And we saw Jonathan VR play mostly every day in 2021. And, well, we didn't make the playoffs. VR is 30 years old, so he's in his prime. He's kind of to an extent in his prime. VR is going to want to play every day. That is a fact. He is going to want to play every day. I do not feel the Mets can offer the opportunity for VR to play every day. VR, there's really just no room. I mean, where are you going to put him? Second base is taken, whether it's Baez or McNeil. Shortstop is taken. Third base, that's the issue. That is the issue. People are saying to me, Hayden, we have Brett Baty in the farm system in the minor leagues. He is not going to be called up till 2022 or 2023. Do you take Jonathan VR and keep him at third base, or another guy who's going to be cheap, a rental? Do you keep him at third base until Baty is called up? People are saying yes. People are saying no. It has its pros and cons. Although I'm going to have to lean on the no side. Brett Baty, he's a prospect. I get that. Not all prospects pan out to be. I'm not saying Baty's not going to be a great guy. I'm just saying he hasn't proved himself. And I would hate to see the Mets pass out on a guy like Correa for a prospect who has yet to prove himself at the major league level. I understand. I'm not saying Baty isn't going to pan out at the major league level. I would just hate to see another possible lull Mets moment again. So I think this is going to be the thing. Matt Chapman has been a guy who was talked about. We know that Chapman has the years of control left. 2 years of control left. That works well. He's not a free agent till 2023. So the years of control looks good. You don't have to pay him a lot. However, my big thing with Matt Chapman is the offense. Matt Chapman provides great defense, no doubt. The offense is a concern. He's a guy who strikes out a lot, and I found this weird. I went on Baseball Savant. He is in the third percentile for strikeouts. I think he led the league in strikeout for like half of the season. He's going to strike out a lot. However, he doesn't chase a lot. He has a fair chase rate. It was like 70, 80. So that's what I don't get. My assumption is maybe he just gets rung up a lot on 0-2 pitches. That's my question. He strikes out a lot. In the second half, he started to come back. He started raising that average and on-base percentage a bit. He started hitting for some power, but I don't want another guy who's going to struggle the first half and play well in the second half. I would easily take Correa over Chapman any day. So that's the thing. I mean, what do you do with third base? Are you going to go for a big guy, but then does that affect Beatty? I mean, you're in a win now mode. Do you go for a cheap guy? I mean, personally, I don't think VR is the everyday starter on this team. I think he could be a great bench bat. I just don't think he's going to want to stay. So we'll see. Yeah, no, you're good, man. Trey says, I think the Astros sped up. They were taking solid pitches these last 4 days. They can get it done. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, he's pretty ill to an extent. Hayden, do you think we will sign Loop, or do you think he will go back to the Jays? No, I think the Mets will re-sign Loop. Yeah, Mets are definitely going to re-sign Loop. He's an easy signing. No complaints. He a 1-year deal. He's an easy signing. Mets should get him done early. Yeah, I think he wants to stay in with the Mets. One of our best relievers, ever since you lost Justin Wilson, you really need another lefty in the bullpen. I mean, maybe if you bring Rich Hill back in a bullpen spot, maybe that works. So you have, in this case, possibly 2 or 3 lefties in the bullpen. That works. I like that. Yeah, I mean, Rich Hill would be solid in the bullpen. You can get 3 innings out of him. He could be a bulk guy, whether it's a setup. Not a setup man, but use him in like the 5th, 6th inning if someone gets taken out early. I like that. So if you have like Rich Hill, Aaron Loop, and maybe if you go after another lefty in the bullpen, nice 3 lefties. I mean, Rojas is gone, so you don't have to play that lefty on righty crap, but still a scenario, it's always good to have. So yeah, we're going to see how that goes. Personally, I think Aaron Loop could easily get re-signed. He's an easy signing. Loop definitely has earned himself a contract. You put Loop in any situation this season, and he got out of it. You put him in bases loaded situations with a 3-0 count and no outs, and he got out of it unscathed. He is a guy who seriously really, really worked this season for us. He is responsible for, I think, the Mets having like 5 extra wins. I mean, just look at that ERA, the WHIP, the expected stats. They were really good. I wasn't expecting Loop to be really crazy this season. When we first saw him start, we know he started off his season with the Mets, hitting Bryce Harper with bases loaded to bring in a run. But otherwise, he has been great. The great fastball, the great cutter, the sidearm submarine style. It confuses, like the windup confuses how quickly it's going to get to the plate, if that makes sense. It's to confuse the batters on when the ball is going to be delivered. The delivery, that's what it is. So that's what I like in Loop. But yeah, easily I think the Mets will re-sign Aaron Loop. LOL, 3-1. Could we put Pilar at DH? You could. You could, but then I feel like he has great defense. Why waste it? Yeah, you could. The Mets have a lot of DH candidates. I mean, some of these guys may go. You have, as of right now, like if the DH were to come today, you have VR, you have Dom Smith, you have JD Davis. If the Mets go after Castellanos, I'm guessing he would be the DH because Castellanos is not a good defender. I mean, Castellanos was like in the single percentile for OAA, and his DRS was negative. We're talking like Daniel Murphy category. So, yeah, I guess the Mets have plenty of DH category candidates. Somebody even said Jeff McNeil, which honestly, I mean, McNeil's a guy who's still like questioning like what type of hitter he wants to be. Whether he's like a guy who will like work any count he gets and just flick the ball in the outfield and get some BABIP singles or go the opposite way. He can hit for some power. We saw in 2019, he had like 25 homers. So we know he tore his rotator cuff in 2019, and that's notorious for snapping power, but he could definitely be, McNeil could, keeps it up. He could definitely knock 25 homers if he keeps it up. Loop, there it is. You know it, Martin. Of course. Mothman Evolve says, can we make David Wright manager or Carlos Beltran? Personally, David Wright's a no. David Wright, he just has no coaching experience. He's like 38, 39, regardless of his age. He has no coaching experience. I understand he would be a great asset to this team. I would have no problem with him being a hitting instructor on this team, no doubt. However, I know he has some executive thing in the Mets office, which I don't think that's an issue, but I can't see him as manager. I could see him as maybe a hitting coach. Like I said, I have no problem with former players, whether that's Edgardo Alfonso, David Wright, Mike Piazza. I have no problem with these former Mets just going to Citi Field one day and just taking BP with guys. If David Wright wants to stand next to, well, they're kind of two different hitters, but like if Mike Piazza and, Pete Alonso, like want to just like, hit BP together and just chat, I'm for that. Give him tips. If David Wright wants to, take some fundamentals at third base with, JD Davis or VR, I have no issue with that. Like if you want to get like Lucas Duda or I don't know, some other first baseman, to take some, scoops at first base with Pete, I like that. I'm down to that. Personally, I just can't see Wright being a manager. He has no coaching experience, regardless of his age. I could see him as a hitting coach, but maybe not as a manager. I mean, he could be maybe in like 20 years from now, but I don't see him as a manager now. Beltran's a guy too. He would be a good clubhouse guy. He would. No coaching experience though also, so I question that. Do you want a guy with coaching experience? He likes analytics. He's young, so that's a benefit, but I don't know. He was a Brody guy. He was a Wilpon guy, so doesn't mean Cohen can't bring him in. I just think there's more candidates out there, in my opinion. AB, what's going on? Good to see you here, AB. Appreciate you tuning into the stream as always. It would be nice to have David Wright. Yeah, it would be, but I don't see it. But I could definitely see him as like a hitting instructor, maybe, or take, some type of instructor. Maybe Rich Hill. Rich be a good prospect in the bullpen. Yeah, 100%. Conforto, yeah, that'll suck. Yeah, we're gonna get it. We're gonna talk about that one time. Lucas Duda, Royals legend. Well, he kind of helped the Royals win the World Series, to be honest. If I could tell Duda one thing, it would be don't rush the throw. Well, no, first I would have had David Wright back off and let Flores grab that ball and check the runner back at third. But that was, incredible base running by Eric Hosmer on that. But I know he played for the Royals for like a season, and you tell me how he did. I don't know. Stoney says, Hayden, who do you think is going to win the World Series? I don't know. My gut tells me the Braves are probably just going to take Game 6. I don't know. My gut tells me it. LFGM, as always. I'm iffy on Lugo. Lugo didn't have the best season because he was coming back from an injury. I don't know what happened with him. He was getting barreled like crazy. I don't know. Lugo, I still have trust in. I haven't lost trust in him yet. People are saying, I don't trust Lugo anymore. I'm not really worried about Lugo. I still think he's fine. I think he definitely still has his stuff. He just didn't have it this season. He got barreled a lot, which was one thing. And trust me, we hate to see barrels because usually it results in home runs. And Lugo, he really was not super great this season. The curveball wasn't on point. We know the curveball was one of the best in the league, and it wasn't the best. Overall, I really hope Lugo could really somehow try to change it around next season. Looking at his savant, his curveball, the spin was there. He is the 100 percentile on the curveball spin. But, with the exit velocity and the fastball, it really wasn't helping him. We know that Lugo is a successful guy. He really has a good mix of his pitches. He has his fastball. He has his curveball. He has his sinker. He has his slider. And he has the changeup, but I think he only throws like 2 of them a season. And that's good. A lot of bullpen pitchers only have 1 or 2 pitches. A lot of bullpen guys have like a fastball and a slider or like a fastball and a curve, where Lugo, a bullpen guy, has at least 4 to 3 solid pitches he could use. So that really helps out. He really mainly uses the fastball and curveball and maybe the sinker. We know this season he really did dip down on the changeup. He didn't really use it much this season. He used it a lot in 2019. Lugo, he just did not look good this season. He wasn't really giving up. A lot of the guys were taking him opposite field. The strike percentage, the pull wasn't really so much there, but he was getting barreled a lot. 8.3 barrel percentage. If we're looking at him in 2017, 5.9, 2018, 5.8, 2019, 5.3, 2020, he struggled a little bit, 8.9. And then his rookie season, 2016, was his highest at 9.5. But who cares about that? He's evolved so much since then. But overall, 8.3, that's a little concerning. So you hope you could try to trim that down. I mean, the drop on the pitches kind of changed a little bit on a sinker and the four-seamer. So hopefully he could change that. I mean, his delivery's fine. I mean, he had elbow surgery. He had loose bodies in his bones. So obviously elbow and pitcher, those two things don't go together if you're injured. So hopefully Lugo can really try to turn it around. Well, we're going to get dinner. See you, man. Appreciate you tuning in, Stoney. As always, good to see you. LFGM. Zach says he was all right in his first year. There was a 0.5 WAR. Came back after finishing 2018 with Atlanta. That's right. He had 2 stints. Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, he pretty much did everything in his prime with the Mets, so it makes sense. Lugo will be fine. Yeah, I think Lugo will be fine. I'm not super worried about Seth Lugo. He's a guy that you really wanted to count on. I mean, if Lugo was fine, I think he really could have helped out this bullpen a lot. I mean, just having Lugo and Loop, I think those two guys would really work well together. I mean, and that's what we saw a lot this season was Lugo got into a jam, bases loaded, 2 outs, and you threw in Loop just to get out that one batter, and you just said, oh, well, forget it. Listen, I understand if it's a close game and, you have the pitcher spot coming up, but there were scenarios where that wasn't even the case, and he was just taken out. So, yeah, that was pretty unfortunate to see. So hopefully there are some major changes with that next season with Louis Rojas. There's no more Louis Rojas, so with the Mets overall, whoever the new Mets manager is, hopefully they don't do that mistake again. That is something you have to be very cognizant about, especially as a manager. And if you want to win a ball game, I mean, bullpen management is something that wins ball games. I mean, like we said, the World Series, bullpens have been very, very good. Bullpens have been very good. That is why a lot of these guys have been doing pretty well. So we're probably going to call it a stream here in a minute or two. If anyone else has any more comments, questions, or concerns, please feel free to drop them below. As always, I appreciate everyone for tuning in. Like we said, that is, of course, I went over the game summaries for Game 3, 4, and 5 at Truist Park in Atlanta. Today is an off day. The Atlanta Braves and Houston Astros will be traveling back to Houston for the final 2 or final game in Game 6 and Game 7. The Houston Astros need to take 2 to win. The Atlanta Braves need to take 1. That is their magic number. Who will win? Will the Atlanta Braves get one more win and avoid the 3-1, stereo thing, I guess you could say? Or will the Houston Astros kind of upset the people, I guess, and take and overachieve the 3-1? We will see. This is going to be a great series. I will be watching it. It's annoying. It's at 8:09 Eastern Standard because last night's game didn't end until like midnight. So that was really late. So I appreciate everyone for tuning in. We are going to call it a stream here. Till next time, baseball fans. See ya.